Do you stand behind her as well? Should she be fired? Should she be sanctioned? Or should she be just left alone to speak her mind?
I don't think she should be fired. She's the African American Studies professor. I don't find her comments that surprising to me. I think what she's attempting to do, although maybe it came off offensive, is balance the conversation. I think so many times in the media, white media sometimes comments on the black community and tells us what our problem is. I think what she's doing is the opposite. She's going and saying these are issues that are in the white community that are sometimes overlooked.
You know, I've seen those kinds of statements from African American study professors, not necessarily on social media, but the idea that we, you know, give people a pass if they were, you know, if they were owners or killers of natives, which she calls them. I understand that. We call them farmers or people with homesteaders. You know, we have different ways of looking at it. I understand. I think she's just trying to be polemic and just trying to get us to think, maybe.
Absolutely. Like, she's pushing the boundary. Maybe some people aren't happy with her word choice, but these are issues that do need to be talked about.
Now, Deneen, if it were a white professor tweeting out racist comments, I'm not so sure the university was, no, Mike, you're saying no.
Don't even get me started with what would happen if a non-black professor said, why is it so hard for white America or black America to admit that black males are a problem? Like black collegiate males are a problem? Like, how is that? And what a glittering generalization that just makes it's a nonsensical statement. To say that there's obvious, you know, disadvantages to anyone else in this country that is not white, it's a very true statement. I get that. But her choice of wording is beyond offensive and nonsensical, practically.
See, the problem is that we're so quick to silence people. I'm not into firing people and silencing people. I don't think Paula Deen should have been fired or silenced. I don't think that Donald Sterling should have been fired. I think that we are so busy trying to close down the dialogue when we could learn from other people instead of trying to silence someone and put them in the closet and tell them to be quiet. If you're feeling that way, I want to know why. I want to open up the dialogue. This is a collegiate environment. Let me find out where you're at on this.
I like where Deneen's coming from. What do you say?
If this were a white professor, we'd be talking about former Professor Grundy. She would have been fired yesterday. You saw what happened to those students at Oklahoma that were singing that racist song on that bus. You saw what happened to Donald Sterling. The NFL, the NBA made him divest himself of his own privately owned team because the NBA is a privately owned organization. Boston University is a private university. They could fire her. They could figure out some sort of way of arguing that she misrepresented herself if they want to. If this were a white professor, we wouldn't be having this conversation. She'd be fired.
Deneen.
No one should be fired. That's my whole point. I think we are too quick to silence people when they have a valid point of view, and we need to hear what it is.
And Larry, I think
if that's not reality,
no, Larry, free speech is.
But we don't know, because if she's silenced, we'll never find out.
But Larry, you take the position that free speech is under attack. I mean, you're sympathetic to what Deneen is saying, that we're so busy being PC, we attack free speech, and so even this woman has a right to speak out and say offensive things.
About free speech. Of course, she has a right of speaking, but she does not work for a public university. She works for a private university, just like Donald Sterling worked for a private
and he should have kept his job.
Team. She ought to lose her job. This is ridiculous.
No, I think we're arguing two separate points. You know, I mean, Mr. Elder's right and Deneen's right. Yeah. You know, Boston University certainly has the right to fire whoever they want, but this young lady has the right to say whatever she wants. There's a gray area in the middle that we're, you know, debating that we should kind of be focusing on.
There's no gray area in the middle. Boston University has speech codes. If she were a resident in a dorm, she would be accused of offending people by using hate speech. She should be fired. This is not about the First Amendment. It's about whether or not I, as an employer, have a right to have somebody on my staff who I think offends people. She offends people. You're going to have white students in her class. Can she teach white students? Did she say the population? Can she teach white students?
Give me the hateful part of what she said. Maybe you don't agree with what she said, but she didn't say, I hate all white people. She just made points that some things need to be talked about in the white community.
Whites on college are a problem population. If somebody said young blacks get a disproportionately high percentage of crime, they are a problem population, what would you say? You want that person fired?
That maybe she needs to talk about what actually the subset is. She's not saying, she didn't mean, I don't believe she meant to say all white males, but we do know that there are some issues on the college campuses that need to be addressed that are with the white males.
Are a problem population. White males are a problem population. If some white guy said black males are a problem population, what the hell do you think would happen to him? Can you say Donald
you can repeat it all day long, but what doesn't change is that she wasn't being hateful. And you can't fire someone who's not even being racist.
I think that shutting down the conversation is not helpful.
Okay. We're losing.
So
Larry's breaking
right?
up. We asked our viewers, Larry, hold on one second. We asked our viewers if they agree with the university's position to stand by the professor. 62% said yes, 38% no. Put the tweet back up. There it is. There's the poll. But if you guys would put the tweet back up that these guys were fighting about. Why is white America so reluctant to identify white college males as a problem population? That's not saying they are a problem population.
I understand that particular statement can be very inflammatory. I understand that. I get that. There's a lot of inflammatory statements that take place, but just telling people to be quiet and let's not talk about it is not the solution to the problem.
Denise,
I think
agree.
Regardless of what side you're on, people need to talk about what they're
Larry, hold on. One at a time, Larry.
Every MLK day, I try not to buy anything from a white person, and it's becoming increasingly difficult. What if somebody said, I try not to buy something from a black-owned business? What do you think would happen?
I want to know why they're saying that. I want to know what their reality is and why they're saying it.
Of black-owned businesses, when there are weeks supporting black-owned businesses, it's difficult for her. She's not saying she's bringing a point up that it's difficult to not be able to buy from non-black-owned institutions. I don't think that's a problem. She's just pointing out something.
I think that whether or not we could sit here and kind of be the arbiters of what's racist or what's not racist, the matter at hand is that, you know, Dr. Drew and I on any different radio shows, us right now on this television show, hold up a certain standard of what we have to do when we speak out loud when people can hear us. And a private employer who pays you money to do things has every right to say, you can't really say that and represent my company. And I mean, I think that a college professor to identify to, or even to question the idea that all white students at college levels might be a problem is a bit inflammatory.
And in fact, black males all the time on media every single day, and those people don't always lose their jobs.
You're going to have to yell about fight with another during the commercial break. It's a live television show. I've got to go to break. But I'm going to tell you what, it's almost difficult to disagree with each one of you. You're right, we're arguing different points, but I will tell you what, look at what she wrote very carefully. She chose her words very, very carefully to be intentionally inflammatory, to get us to think. So let's use what she said and begin to think. And for God's sakes, everybody, stop preventing people from expressing themselves just because they don't agree. You don't agree with them. Put away the pitchforks and the torches and listen and look and let's have real discourse.